Today, we're talking about something huge: how to break free from the limitations that, get this, you might not even know you have. So let me ask you something right off the bat. Have you ever had this big dream, this amazing idea, but it felt like there was this invisible current just pulling you back, keeping you stuck? Well, that unseen force, that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. You know that invisible current we just talked about? It's not just a vague feeling. It's real. It's made of these invisible chains, the habits, the beliefs, the expectations that we don't even realize we're wearing every single day. And it all starts with this thing called social conditioning. Think of it like this. From the moment you're born, society, your family, your culture, your schools, basically hands you a rule book, and it quietly tells you what a good life is supposed to look like, which dreams are realistic, and which paths are safe. So what does that actually look like in real life? Well, picture that aspiring artist who gets gently nudged by their loving family into a stable office job. The dream isn't crushed because they failed. It's suffocated by the belief that it was never a real possibility to begin with. And this, right here, gets to the absolute heart of the problem. See, the strongest limitations aren't the ones forced on us. They're the ones we accept without even questioning. We absorb these rules so deeply that they just become part of our own thinking, and we completely forget we ever had a choice. Okay, so if social conditioning is the blueprint, what are the actual walls it builds around us? Let's take a look at the invisible bricks that society uses to keep us all boxed in. What do you think is the single most powerful force that stops people from taking that bold step? From launching that business or really truly following their heart? It's this: the fear of what other people will think. Now, what's so wild about this is that for so many of us, this fear of being judged can be way more paralyzing than the fear of actually failing. Think about that for a second. We are absolutely wired for connection. It's in our DNA to want to belong. And that deep human need for acceptance, well, it can lead us to trade our biggest ambitions for the comfort of just fitting in. We end up choosing the safe, crowded path just to avoid the risk of walking our own path, alone. And these pressures, man, they come from all sides. It could be your family, who love you and just want what's best for you. It could be cultural traditions that define success in a really specific way. Or, honestly, it could just be the environment you're in. If everyone around you has a limited view of what's possible, it's incredibly hard to see a bigger world for yourself. And of course, we've got to be real here. Some barriers are very, very real and are built right into the system. Things like economic inequality or not having access to a good education. These are serious hurdles. The key, though, is to recognize these realities without letting them become the final word on what you're capable of. Okay, thinking about all these chains and walls can feel kind of heavy. I get it. But here's the good news. For every lock, there is a key. So let's totally shift gears from the problem to the solution. Let's talk about the path to liberation. So here's a practical 5-step toolkit for this journey. It all starts with awareness, just seeing these invisible forces for what they are. Next up, you challenge the norms by questioning those expectations. Then you find your tribe. Surround yourself with people who actually get your vision. After that, you build inner strength, learning to trust your own gut. And finally, you take bold action. Not a giant leap, just one small, brave step. Let's just zero in on that second step for a moment. Challenging the norms. This is probably the single most important question you can ask yourself. Seriously, take a moment and think about your goals. Are they your goals, or are they just an echo of what someone else told you to want? And this is what building that inner strength is all about. It's about turning up the volume on your own intuition, your own desires. Because when your own voice becomes the loudest one you hear, all that criticism and all those expectations from the outside world, they just start to fade into background noise. So this brings us to the most empowering part of this whole journey: taking ownership. Because hey, if it's your vision, it has to be your path. I want you to remember this. External barriers are real, but the truly dangerous ones, the ones that really stop us, are the limitations we accept inside our own minds. The moment you stop giving society the power to define your potential is the moment you become truly free. Remember that artist who got pushed into the safe career? Their vision of a life filled with art didn't need anyone else's approval. Your vision is yours. It's yours alone. It doesn't need a committee vote. It's just not for them to understand. And here is one last thought to leave you with. Breaking free, it's not just a personal victory. When you have the courage to follow your own path, you become a kind of beacon, showing other people what's possible. Your bravery creates a ripple effect. The only question is, what ripple are you going to start?